This is Jeopardy! Please welcome our Player 1. And...
Okay, let's get back into this. Player 1, you make the next... The death in Venice is from this waterborne disease that has caused several pandemics. It's Player 1.
Oh!
Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? It's Player 3. That's it. Player 3, start us. The number one cause of death in the United States isn't cancer, but disease of this organ. Let's hear it, Player 1. Good.
Yeah!
A lot of clues, a lot of categories, Player 1. Make a selection. This Lord Protector's body was once buried in Westminster Abbey. It's believed his head is buried in Cambridge. Okay, Player 1. Sorry, that's wrong.
No.
Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? Here's the response we were looking for. Oliver Cromwell. Player 1, back to you for our next selection. Charlotte Bronte. There was no possibility of taking a walk that day. Player 1?
Yeah!
That's it. You're out of the hole. Player 1, you pick again, please. Golding. The boy with fair hair lowered himself down and began to pick his way toward the lagoon. Yes, Player 1? Right.
Yeah!
Player 1, back to you. Tolstoy. Well, Prince, so Genoa and Lucca are now just family estates of the Bonapartes. Okay, Player 1? That's correct. Player 1, back. John Burke's Gillespie. Let's hear it, Player 1. Right. Player 1, back to you for our next selection. To look with the eyes partly closed. It's Player 1. Right. Player 1, you pick again, please. It's the Daily Double. You are in first place. So, what's your wager? Here is your clue. With a name like this one, it has to be good. However, you keep your lead. Here's the correct response. Smuckers. Select again. Because I'm worth it. It's Player 1. Right. You get to pick again, Player 1. Choosy moms choose this. Player 1?
Oh.
Sorry, that's wrong. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Okay, Player 3. That is correct. Player 3, where do we start? It takes a lickin' and keeps on ticking. Okay, Player 1. Ooh, sorry. Any other takers? We're talking about Timex. Player 3, pick again. All the news that's fit to print. Yes, player one? That's correct. Okay, let's get back into this. Player one, you make the next selection. Julian Adderley. It's player one. Correct. Player one, back to you for... P.T. Barnum didn't have this actress's leg to stand on when she refused his $10,000 offer for it. It's player one.
Oh,
sorry.
no.
That's incorrect. Anyone else? The correct response is Sarah Bernhardt. Player one, for 2011, the 10 highest fertility rates were in countries on this continent. Okay, player one.
Yeah.
That's correct. Please pick again, player one. Thomas Wright Waller. Let's hear it, player one. Sorry. That's incorrect. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? Here's the correct response. Fats. Player one. Pick again. A short race at full speed. Okay, player one. Yes. Player one, you pick again, please. Fitzgerald. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind. Yes, player one? That is correct. Player one, choose Edward Ellington. Okay, player one? Right.
Yeah.
You again, player one. Orwell. Mr. Jones of the Manor Farm had locked the hen houses for the night. Player one? Good.
Yeah.
Select again. Charlie Parker. Player one? Any other takers? Let's hear it, player two. That's it. Player two, where do we start? A cuneiform tablet dating to 2000 BC is the first known reference to the type of birth associated with this Roman leader. Let's hear it, player one. Good for you. Okay, let's get back into this. Player one, you make the next selection. Louise Brown, the first baby conceived as the result of in vitro fertilization, was born in this decade. Player one? Right. We return to you, player one. 5-letter word for gleaming brightness or luster. Okay, player one. No, sorry. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? Here's what we were looking for. Glint. We return to you. A thin piece of rigid material to maintain a body part in a fixed position. Let's hear it, player one. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Yes, player three? You are correct. Player three, make a selection, please, as we continue. Hue or dye? Let's hear it, player one. That is correct. Player 1, where do we start? An American urologist is said to own a very important part of this French leader who died on May 5th, 1821. Okay, Player 1. That's correct. Player 1, this assassin's third, fourth, and fifth vertebrae aren't in a Baltimore cemetery. They're at the National Museum of Health and Medicine. It's Player 1. Sorry, that's wrong. Any other takers? Let's hear it, Player 3. That is correct. And we'll wrap up the board with this clue. General Lee said, "He has lost his left arm, which was buried in Elwood, Virginia, but I have lost my right arm." Okay, Player 1. Right. The Double Jeopardy round will begin right after this. Player 2, you start us off. A baby belch, 4 letters. Okay, Player 1. That's correct. Okay, let's get back into this. Player 1. In November of 1903, troops from the USS Nashville were used to stop Colombians from reaching this now capital city. It's Player 1. Right. In The Taming of the Shrew, she's courted by 3 men. It's Player 1. No. Anyone else? Let's hear it, Player 2. Right you are. Player 2, start us. Gassy surname of Sir Toby in Twelfth Night. Player 1. Good. Player 1, where do we start? A throng, often of beauties, 4 letters. Let's hear it, Player 1. You are correct. Player 1, pick again. Holy triskaidekaphobia. Special effects guru Tom Savini had an arrow shoved through Kevin's throat in this 1980 flick. Let's hear it, Player 1. Right. Please pick again, Player 1. Answer. The first of the 2 daily doubles. And you have the lead. Please enter your wager. Answer. Kevin could handle the truth as Captain Jack Ross in this 1992 legal drama written by Aaron Sorkin. You have maintained your lead. Way to go. Select again. At the end of Much Ado About Nothing, Benedict quiets this love of his with a kiss. Okay, Player 1. Nope. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Okay, Player 3. Yeah! Player 3, you start us off. People of this religion call Christians and Jews, their fellow monotheists, al-Kitab, people of the book. It's Player 1. Correct. Where do we begin, Player 1? His downfall was at Philippi. Let's hear it, Player 1. Yes. Select again. This ghostly guy is described by the witches as lesser than Macbeth and greater. Player 1? Good. Select again.
Yeah!
The second daily double. You are currently in the lead. You need to select your wager. Okay, here is the clue. This German bacteriologist developed a test for syphilis and an inoculation for tetanus. That puts you even further ahead. Player 1, back to you. In 1796, he inoculated 8-year-old James Phipps with material from a cowpox pustule from Sarah Nelms. Okay, Player 1. You got it. You get to pick again. In 1889, Susan LaFlèche Picotte, a member of this Nebraska tribe, became the first Native American female doctor. Let's hear it, Player 1. Right. Please pick again, Player 1. Best-selling book that has its own belt. 5 letters. Yes, Player 1? Correct. Player 1, you pick again, please. In 1659, Italian anatomist Marcello Malpighi discovered that the lungs were made up of these tiny air sacs. It's Player 1. Ooh, sorry. That's incorrect. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Here's the response we were looking for. Alveoli. Player 1, back to you. In 1968, a federal court found this author and pediatrician guilty of violating the Selective Service Act. Yes, Player 1? Sorry. Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? Let's hear it, Player 2.
Aww.
Nope. Sorry. Anyone else? Player 3?
Yeah.
Hey, you're right. Okay, let's get back into this. Player 3, you make the next selection as Kevin had to go to space camp before playing the role of Jack Swigert in this film. Let's hear it, Player 1.
Yeah!
Player 1, you start. Kevin played Ensign Pulver in the TV remake of this 1955 movie. Okay, Player 1. Sorry.
Oh!
Anyone else? Here's the correct response. Mr. Roberts. Player 1, back to you. Kevin had a cup of coffee in this 1982 Barry Levinson ensemble piece with chums Mickey Rourke, Paul Reiser, and Tim Daly. It's Player 1. No. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Player 2. Yes. Player 2, you start. One of 3 major branches of Christianity. It originated in a 16th century Reformation. Okay, Player 1. Right. Player 1, Zen, a branch of this Asian religion, aims for Satori, or enlightenment. Let's hear it, Player 1.
Oh.
No. Anyone else want to hazard a guess on this? Here's the response we were looking for. Buddhism. Please pick again. Begin this act, part of penance, by saying, "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned." Then spill the beans. Yes, player one? That's correct. Player one. This term for a Jewish house of worship comes from the Greek for meeting. It's player one. Sorry, that's wrong. Anyone else? We're talking about a synagogue. Please pick again, player one. Mr. Bumble's occupation in Oliver Twist. 6 letters. Okay, player one. Oh, sorry. Any other takers? Here's the correct response. Beetle. You get to pick again, player one. It precedes dance, laugh, or flop. 5 letters. Okay, player one. Good. Select again. Admitted as the 22nd state in 1819, it seceded in 1861 and was readmitted in 1868. Okay, player one. Good. Player one, let's take it over to Kelly.
The ancient Pueblo peoples who built cliff dwellings such as these are also known as the Anasazi, a word meaning enemy in the language of this largest of U.S. tribes.
Okay, player one. Nope.
Oh!
Anyone else? Yes, player three. Nope.
Oh!
Anyone else care to try to come up with a correct response? Let's hear it, player two. Good for you. A lot of clues, a lot of categories, player two. Make us. At Jefferson Davis's suggestion, in 1855, Congress bought some of these animals from Egypt for the Southwest. Let's hear it, player one.
Yeah.
Right. And we'll wrap up the board with this clue. Franklin Pierce's hope for glory in this war ended when he was thrown from his horse and injured. It's player one. Right.
Yeah.
All 3 of you will participate in Final Jeopardy right after this. Here's the Final Jeopardy category. Notable women. So, what's your wager? Here's the clue for you. In 1963, she said, "I feel as though I'm suddenly on stage for a part I never rehearsed." Let's see your response. And this correct response will add how much to your score? What did you say? And this correct response will add how much to your score? What did you say? How much do you add to your total with that correct response? This makes you our new champion, player one, so congratulations. We'll see you all next time.